Hello, it's December 2021, and I'm going to be talking about some, I guess you can call it some insider information with regards to law, but this will segue into, for example, current worldwide events. And before I continue, I would like to say that I'm sharing this information with no ill intent or malice, nor am I speaking negatively about anyone, for example, from a professional perspective. Now, I'm going to begin by talking about posted speed limits. Now, I'm setting aside the fact that there's a lot of idiot drivers out there and a lot of people who shouldn't be driving, but I digress. The posted speed limit is actually below what most people would find comfortable. They've done extensive studies in different areas because people seem to be a little bit different depending on geography for some reason. They've done extensive studies to find out how people drive, blind studies, so people don't know how fast they're going, and they just say drive what you feel comfortable in a setting, for example on the highway or residential. And what they've done was, it's actually kind of amazing because most people will default to about the same speed limit that they find comfortable. But what they've done was reduce the speed limit, the posted speed limit, about 20 kilometers below what people naturally find comfortable. Now, I'm going to interject here how I know this. In the early 2000s, there was an individual who sacrificed his entire career and everything, completely destroyed him, who was actually posting this information online. And unfortunately, they shut him down. They destroyed his life because he was showing actual evidence of everything that I'm talking about with regards to the posted speed limit. And not only do I know that, but when they shut him down, he had contacted me asking if I would take, I think it was like half his files. So I got to meet the man who sacrificed everything to expose that little bit of tidbit of information. Take what you will from that. I'm not stating or implying anything, okay? Now this segues into people fighting, for example, I'm using this as an example, speeding tickets. If everyone fought their speeding ticket, pled not guilty, and went to trial, the courts could not facilitate everyone. What they do is they bank on the fact, no pun intended, that people will either just pay the fine, pay the ticket, or they will do a resolution meeting and have it reduced, which still is a conviction. The prosecutor still gets a conviction out of that if they plead, something lesser, and make it go away. And that's really why these resolution meetings are, is to kind of free up the courts. But if everyone was to fight their tickets, just the speeding tickets alone, they couldn't handle it. Now, I'm just going to segue even on another tangent for a moment with regards to traditional collection agencies and debts. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that traditional collection agencies do not have any authority to collect from anyone. And this is where my revolutionary concept of debt recovery, suing for debt, came about. Suing for debt is nothing new. And I know there's, advocates out there who are watching going, well, I've sued for debts, sure. But I promise you, you haven't sued debts on a grand scale. For example, 10,000 files, say on a pilot project, from one client. That's a lot of files. And that's on a pilot project, 10,000. To put the money into perspective, say, for example, $650 to get to judgment. We're excluding enforcement of judgment because that's the other half of a lawsuit. 650 times 10,000. That's I'm not very good at math, but that's a decent number from one pilot project from one client. So you can multiply that as many times as you want. I digress. So traditional collection agencies have taken over because, for one thing, the courts could not facilitate, again, the volume. Say, for example, in small claims court, they couldn't facilitate the volume of claims. So this is where traditional collection agencies have dominated. And when you look at any RFPs going out to, for example, any credit grantors, prime, subprime lenders, even government, their RFPs are actually geared towards traditional collection agencies and how they're set up. I'm going to share something, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to. I remember when I was doing the debt recovery with, this pilot project example and everything else, I decided to compete with some government agencies, like with these traditional collection agencies, to compete, to get their files. And so when I received all the forms, like the RFPs and everything, I had, I guess you can say, complained. I'm using layman's terms here, and saying it was unfair because what I was doing was not traditional collections, and the way they structured the RFPs left basically people like myself out. They had to recall all the RFPs everywhere, and everyone had to start rewriting them because of me. Basically, I shut it down. And I remember some of the functions I would go to, there'd be a lot of top people in these traditional collections, and I remember it was soon after this, going to a function, and they're all talking amongst themselves, like, what happened, who did this, what's going on. I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to be lynched. Now I'm just going to interject here that, for example, for prime, subprime lenders and the top credit grantors, the recovery was for default, and about 90% of those would go get default judgment. When it comes to provincial offenses or state offenses, your traffic tickets and stuff, there's no judgment. Like, the judgment's already given, so that money is owed. So for the debt recovery program, it was the enforcement stage, the collecting of the fines and so forth. So I just want to make that very clear. So again, the point with that story is really how the courts cannot handle volume. So where am I going with all this? Well, relate this to, for example, current worldwide events. A lot of people are, I shouldn't say a lot, depends on where you are, like, who knows what the truth is right nowadays. But if everyone who, for example, and I'm word crafting here, are not accepting the official narratives and what's being imposed, and say there's fines or charges even or whatever, if everyone fought them, pled not guilty, with I'm thinking a volume of people, then there'd be nothing that for example, the courts could do to facilitate everyone. I'm not stating or implying what people should say, think, or do. Again, I'm not speaking negatively about anything. I'm presenting this as neutral as possible, just sharing some facts. Take what you will from it. That's on you. But anyway, hopefully you got something out of this. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.